I'm just saying there's a lot of influence. You can influence buying. We can afford it. We do it. We do it very well. Edmund Lansdale was a great operator. He, in the Philippines, against the Hucks, and in Vietnam, he tried to play a role. He tried to play a role in Cuba. He was an advertising man. He was a psychological expert in warfare, and he constantly said, you do not have to assassinate people. You get to the media, you get to the chief media, and you got to get these human rights types of organizations, and you got to control the mind of the people. He saw what Stanley McChrystal is seeing in Afghanistan, and he's been saying it for all that he was saying it all his life. Lansdale was a strange guy, and we used him in JFK, but you know, he got it. And so advertising, psychological control of the population. So somebody somewhere in America said, we got to dumb down this population. So we're going to give them, guess what? Television. And television works. It's the greatest narcotic of all. It puts people to sleep, makes them stupid. You know, at one point, long ago, when I was just born, God, television was somewhat, had a license, something called the FCC, the Federal Communications. And they had licenses for television. And licenses were very serious things to purchase. And you had an obligation to run things like the news for non-profit reasons. That has all vanished. Those of you who are too young to remember, has all vanished, and television has become a free-for-all to make money. And this has changed the entire scope of the American election process, which is, of course, demanding money to be elected. It's changed the scope of advertising. It's changed the scope of influence in this country. And I try to deal with that a bit in my movie Natural Born Killers to show an early sample of how bad this was going to get. And I think it was eerily, ugly prophetic, because I think it happened. And violence was part of the promotion. It was part of the promotion.
Still is. I mean, look at all the people who've been killed on VH1 that night.
Yeah. And war is violence. War sells. This guy Bush and Kirshner said that quote. War is good for the American economy.
So
was murder. So was crime. So was the prison system.
You must have loved the Supreme Court overturning that law.
My biggest moment was, there were two horrible moments in those last 8 nightmare years. Maybe we all have nightmare moments, I'm sure, but my God. I mean, I'm the guy who'd been to Vietnam, and the Noriega, and the Grenada was a joke. That was insane. But I have to say, when the 2000 election, that night was a nightmare. That 2000 election, the Supreme Court, what they did. I'd love to do a movie about that subject, but that's our argument of the Supreme Court. But Rehnquist, was quite nuts. He was the Chief Justice at that time, and he was actually, there's a great story that Jeffrey Toobin did on Rehnquist's psychological attack. He was under observance for 2 weeks in the 1980s for a breakdown in his paranoia. And then the other great moment was Alito, when he got nominated. No, Roberts is right up there, but Alito, I remember when they all hated Alito. He was lying through his teeth, we all know it. Judicial restraint, my ass. And here he was, and it was going against him. And then that's when his wife broke down and cried. I got sick. I don't know if you ever remember that TV moment, but the whole entire country was convulsed with this image of his wife being driven from the so-called hearing room because she was crying, and she'd been so offended by her noble husband's persecution. So it was like something out of the Dreyfus Affair in Zola. It was the opposite. And Alito has voted definitely across the board against every form, right down the line on judicial restraint. He went against it, as did our friend John Roberts. And that was a great moment too. John Roberts and Obama on the inaugural. Two different men, two different styles, two different cultures completely.
So the stories just keep getting scarier and scarier.
Good drama, but sad, isn't it? Tea Party. Oh, I don't. That's Sarah Palin. That's another nightmare. I mean, how many nightmares have you do? Can I make? I think the sense of humor to do that. I think Tina Fey was a great. I mean, she should do a feature. It's really important to stop her, and we should stop her. And Tina Fey should do it. It really requires a comedy partner, not me. But
do you think it's crazy? It seems so crazy. The notion that it actually might work. Is that, but we're in a culture where that couldn't work?
Yeah, but you're asking me to inflate as a balloon bigger and bigger. It's just, when do you pop? I would like to have some fun in the last years and have movies that are.
Well, I like
I mean, she is fun.